Hello, I'm Patrick Moore.
I'm Marlisa McLaughlin.
Welcome to Health Buzz.
Perspectives on natural health and healing.
Our topic today is healthy winter tips. Marlisa, here we are in Connecticut, mid-October. The days are getting shorter. Darkness is upon us. It's getting colder out there. We're moving into the hibernation season. More respiratory illnesses, colds, flu, and COVID is still around too.
Yes, the last 2 years we've been pretty much focused on the COVID virus, and our last show, if you haven't caught that, is about the post-COVID conversation. And part of that conversation is that so much focus went on COVID that a lot of people haven't had the flu season on the radar.
Yeah, because in a way we forgot about the flu for the last 2 years. But according to the CDC and the World Health Organization, we may get slammed this year with the nasty flu virus.
And not only that, but the Farmer's Almanac is predicting a very snowy, cold winter, and viruses love the cold in the nasal cold in the nasal passages, right?
They sure do.
So
what we're trying to do today in our show is to share some ideas with all of you as to what you can do to prepare yourself for the winter season, the fall season, what I call the respiratory season, where we're all hibernated, we're inside, and that beautiful sunshine kind of disappears on us, right?
along with the vitamin D we get from the sun, not just the sunshine to make our spirits happy, which it does because it gets an increased serotonin and dopamine level.
Yes, and you see in the wintertime more illness. It's not just flu, respiratory virus, blood pressure, more high blood pressure, more high cholesterol. There are more suicides, seasonal
That's right.
affective disorder, depression, heart attacks,
Depression
strokes,
increase.
all kinds of illnesses develop during that hibernation season, particularly in the northern latitudes, which we live in.
Right, and one thing we had mentioned in our vitamin D show is just a reminder is that the actual distance is so much further from the sun's rays to hit on the planet where we live in New England. So
Right,
there's a real true lack of vitamin D where we are.
Exactly, because we need ultraviolet B rays, and they disappear as the sun goes on an angle, and that ultraviolet B produces the vitamin D, which is so crucial, not just for our immune system and bones, but for our mood.
Very much so. And going into hibernation season, especially after post-COVID, because many people talked about being a little bit more reclusive. So we are hibernating more than we know. And there's also like some people struggle with that too, like allowing themselves to be more tired or to feel like they need more sleep, but we actually do. Our whole circadian rhythm is changing.
Yeah.
So it's very important. Let's talk about the flu and viruses. Let's do that.
Well, there's some confusion sometimes as to what's a cold and what's a virus.
Right?
What are the differences? And just to be brief about it, the flu, more severe, right?
Much more severe.
Fever.
Might not feel more severe for the bad cold. That can feel as bad as a bad
It sure can.
flu.
But traditionally, you've got the fever for sure, shivering, chills, muscle aches.
Yeah.
Have you ever had the flu yourself?
I haven't.
I think I had it once.
If I did, I didn't recognize it as the flu,
Right.
as it wasn't severe enough, and I thought it might have just been
Because
a cold.
there are over 200 viruses that circulate through the winter. And so sometimes it's hard to determine, do you have the flu, do you have a cold, how severe is it?
Thanks,
But
Frank.
traditionally a flu is just a runny nose, sore throat, cough, congestion,
And
things of that
fatigue.
nature, which can be nasty too.
Really, it's so draining, and it kind of is more taxing. It seems more, you have to be more active.
Yes, and here we are in the flu season. Again, as I said before, the World Health Organization, the CDC, they try to predict and make vaccines months in advance. It takes a long time to make vaccines. So they try to forecast what are the major 4 strains they can put into a vaccine. Sometimes they get it right.
And
Sometimes they don't, and the vaccine is not that very effective. But the flu affects about 20% of the population every year, and the majority of people affected the most are the elderly. However, I just want to take out this article. On the
That's
front
right.
page of the New Haven Register, where we have the 4th largest hospital in America, Yale New Haven Hospital, we have some quotes that this is from Connecticut Children's Hospital, Dr. Juan Salazar, who is the physician-in-chief. Let me read this. Respiratory viruses have filled emergency rooms, and this is mid-October, at Connecticut's major children's hospital, officials said Friday, with the worst of the season still to come. Already the emergency rooms mid-October are filling up with children. And Dr. Salazar says, I've been doing this for a long time and I've never seen the volume that we're seeing now. That is alarming.
Very
That
alarming.
is troubling that already emergency rooms are filling up. And we've got November, December, January, February, into early March to go, and already it's affecting children. So we got to come up with some good tips, Marlisa.
Well, let's talk about them.
What people can do.
What can we do? What can we do? We have 3 areas we want to cover with you today. So lifestyle tips, diet, and
Nutrition.
nutraceuticals.
And of course, if you want to get the vaccine itself, which I generally recommend, there are 2 kinds of flu shot vaccines. And I just want to, it's not a major deal, but I just want to bring this up because it's important to me personally. When you go into Walgreens, CVS, or to your doctor, clinic, wherever it is, there's such a thing as what's called a multi-vial vaccine and a single vial vaccine. Here's the difference. A single vial is just what you think of it as. 1 vial per person, your own vaccine personally, okay? Mercury-free. A lot of times, to save money, manufacturers will have what are called multi-vials, which means a vaccine is being taken out of a vial, one after the other, and being dispersed to different people. To prevent infections and bacterial growth, they add thimerosal. That's a fancy name for mercury, 25 micrograms. Although the CDC says it's not really a problem, it's a small amount. I personally, and I want to share this with our audience, feel that if you have a choice,
Thank you, Frank.
single vial, because mercury is a neurotoxin. Why would
Right.
you want it injected into your system?
And a
Even though
neurotoxin for our viewers that might not know. Neurotoxin.
I know
affect
Yale
your
New
brain.
Haven Hospital has switched mostly to the single vial, which is a clue right there. A lot of the nurses did not want to get the multi-vial, so single vial. It's a small point, but it's something to be aware of. Ask for a single vial. So Marlisa, what can we do to protect ourselves? What strategies and tips can we put in place to protect us from these viruses?
Basic lifestyle tips as we were headed towards. And first and foremost, really, is the sleep issue we have now because of the increase in stress from COVID and the amount of screen time we have, which messes up our circadian rhythm. There's a lot of struggle with sleep. So we'll talk about that. Exercise, increasing your exercise or getting some exercise. Stress reduction. There are many different alternatives to that and helpful ways. Getting a humidifier and also a HEPA filter. And we'll talk just briefly about the benefit of a mask. Thanks, Frank.
Thank you, Frank. So let's talk about sleep to begin with. We've brought this issue up at many of our other shows and how crucial it is to restore your immune system with good sleep. What's your secret?
I've actually been sleeping with my lavender eye pillow right near my nose. I've always had it, but I haven't really felt a need to use it. And I've come into some, struggle with some sleep. And it immediately, the aromatherapy just puts me right out.
Essential oils, things like that.
Yeah, so essential oils, melatonin.
Some people use melatonin, and of course melatonin can be very helpful for some people, and depending on the dosage and things like that. What we've talked about in our other shows is that melatonin can also be a remarkable immune booster. And a recent study by Ohio State University is that it spurs cells to create bone strength.
We need that, especially with the osteoporosis.
And remember Nancy Reagan's sleep aid?
Oh, that's right, a banana.
She would always eat a half banana because banana has an amino acid, a protein called L-tryptophan, which is when people talk about turkey or heating up milk or things like that, it activates serotonin, the neurotransmitter that calms the mind. So that's one technique. In the future, we'll come up with a whole episode on sleep techniques. But
Yeah,
sleep
that's
is
a
important.
necessary one.
What about exercise?
Any kind you can get. I mean, if you're chair bound, you can even just do exercises with weights, so resistance, weight resistance. Walking is such an easy way. Take the stairs and, all these little tricks you can do. Park away from the entry to
There are
a
no
store.
excuses. You can always find a way.
You can.
You
And
could
if
always find a
you
way.
can't go to the gym, like some people.
You can even run in place or do anything. You can
Right.
be creative.
Right.
Because what does exercise do for you?
Everything.
Relaxes
Get
the
your
body,
circulation going
energy,
and releases all kinds of stress.
blood flow, things like that. So what about stress reduction? You're the expert on that.
Well, first of all, the breath. I mean, I talk about this in every show. Like, you can't stress enough. We don't want to get stressed. How much just one intentional breath can help you relax. Just taking a breath, knowing that you're doing it, just to let go, just to create space so that you have more room, so that your rib cage can expand, and then your heart can open, and then your body has more space for more oxygen.
Or do the strategy of 10. Anytime you're feeling a stressful situation or anything like that, how about taking 10 deep breaths before you say something or text something you didn't want to?
That's huge.
Take 10 deep breaths.
Because I've recently started to explore with my energy practice sound therapy. It's amazing what you can get just on YouTube if you have headphones and you listen to some really beautiful tones.
Music.
Toning, music, bird chirping. I mentioned that in our last show.
Yes.
So anything, being with friends, eating good food.
I listen to my music, the ocean or rain. For
Natural
whatever reason,
sounds.
Rain really is just sort of, I
Soothing,
feel, cozy inside.
It's great.
Relaxing.
There are so many different ways for us to reduce the stress, and sometimes it doesn't have to have an enormous big strategy. Sometimes you can just learn to navigate your own stress in ways that make sense for you, and then you don't get more stressed out thinking that you have to create a practice around stress reduction.
So Marlisa, why is a humidifier? I recommend a humidifier. Why is it important?
Oh, well, we just talked about it with viruses love the cold. They love, in our nasal passage.
Dry nasal passages. Viruses thrive on dry nasal passages. So have a humidifier. Humidify your room. Go to bed with that humidifier on, particularly if you have children. And also, it's good for your skin, right?
Hydration.
Because our skin gets so dry during the cold New England winters. So have a humidifier. It's extremely beneficial.
And if you have a wood stove, that's what I do in my house. I just put a big pot that's designed for the wood stove on, so that, and just fill it up and let that go also. It's going to boil out.
Excellent.
Yeah.
How about a HEPA air filter? HEPA air filter, high efficiency particulate air. They're used in medical clinics, ICU units, surgery rooms, and they're so productive in killing off viruses, bacteria, fungi, and everything like that in the air, dust mites, but it has to be a HEPA. I'm glad at the school I teach in, thanks to the federal relief funds that went to the education, they have a 24/7 in my room of a really powerful HEPA filter, and it really is dynamic. It really keeps that air crystal clear. And I've used them over the years. I think if you have children with asthma or any adults with asthma or any type of chronic obstructive pulmonary disease, pulmonary fibrosis, asthma, or any of these type of things, a nice clean air makes a huge difference. And I found you sleep a lot better with it too.
Oh yeah, you're not waking up with a dry cough. And speaking of dryness, then we didn't mention taking a steam bath to help you get cleansed when you're struggling, or even if you're not struggling at all, but especially if you do have a flu or a cold. That's great. Yes. Or even just putting your head over a pot with some essential oils or ginger.
When I had COVID, I had that shortness of breath and coughing and things like that. I took 3 long steaming hot showers a day just to cleanse my lungs and to heat up my body. And it was so therapeutic, those steam showers.
Good point.
Now, what about the controversy of a mask?
Oh, I was going to go somewhere else, but yeah, go ahead.
Okay. Now, we've had lots of controversy. Is the mask beneficial? Is it not? We found that the N95 that very few people wore except in the medical profession, or if you had were perhaps immune deficiency. But you wore a mask for a while. We had to, right?
Yes.
I had to in school.
I had to also.
I think the one beneficial thing that I think is best for a mask is that The average person I've heard touches their face about 24 times a day, maybe even more. Even if you look at President Biden when he gives a speech, he might just, without even realizing it, and we touch things. We touch this, we touch that, we touch bars, we touch everything, and then we touch our face. And that's one way to prevent
That's what you're
contamination. And it's better to touch the mask.
One good thing about that you just reminded me was I also heard a lot when I did interviews for this show to how people are preparing is that the COVID virus did make them more aware of hand washing, much more hand washing and,
Yes.
and other surfaces. So.
And how do we cough?
Oh, that's right. It's the dab cough, though. covering with the elbow.
It's not like this. It's cough into. Yeah.
So we can protect that. But I was going to mention also just a little quick tip because I've been noticing many people are getting ear infections also. A few drops of hydrogen peroxide in the ear.
Yeah, this is an
help.
old doctor's remedy that was used for decades and decades. It kind of has faded away, but some of the old-time doctors know all about it. You put a few drops of hydrogen peroxide in both of your ears, maybe 3 times a day, and it's supposed to be very good for respiratory, colds, illness, things like that. So
that's great. So the best protection against a virus, though, is?
Would you say a fever?
The best protection. Well, a fever helps with it. I was going to go with a healthy diet.
Oh, the best. Well, yes. Let's go to a healthy diet.
A healthy diet, which there's so much information out there for healthy diets. Keep it simple. Try not to be overwhelmed. You don't have to make huge life shifts, life changes all at once. And healthy, nutrient-rich foods.
Yeah, a lot of people go to Dunkin' Donuts, they grab a coffee, have a donut. What nutrition, what vitamins to protect their immune system are in a donut? Not much, but it's a staple of America. And a lot of refined cereals don't have many nutrients in it. So looking at food that is healthy and live, fruits and vegetables and things of that nature that help to nourish your immune system. Always think of, when I'm eating this, what is it going to do for my immune system? What vitamins are in it? And things of that nature. And of course, Frank, that's okay now. You can switch that slide. Tell me about one of your favorites. You make fermented foods with their own probiotics in them, right? Tell me about probiotics, fermented foods.
I'm just drawing a complete blank. Kefir, which is a milk product.
Yogurt.
I don't make that, but yogurt, yes, yogurt
Remember
is
in
good.
our microbiome, you made the pickles?
Yeah, but there was
Yes.
also something else I've completely just,
You
I
know,
love it.
I have a bag of kimchi. Have you heard of kimchi?
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
That's a tough
It's
one I have to get
it's
used to.
Korean, but it's filled with beneficial bacteria. And what does that beneficial bacteria do for you?
Oh, it just takes rid of that gut bacteria that's not beneficial. And I remembered, it is, I forgot again.
Well, one thing about the beneficial bacteria, they play a major role in not only our immune system, but our mood. And think about it, we have 1 trillion cells, but we have 100 trillion bacteria. Bad diets promote bad bacteria, which can be harmful to us and harmful to our moods. Most serotonin, our neurotransmitters, are made in the gut. Remember we talked about that vagus nerve?
Right, it's like the highway to get the neurotransmitters here
gut-brain
to
transport.
here.
So think of yogurt, kefir, things like that.
And
fermented
kombucha.
Foods.
That's what I used to make, and I haven't made in a while. But kombucha is also just a great fermented drink that helps with that, building your immune system. Because let's not forget that antibiotics, which many people think they want to kill the virus, it won't. But when people start taking a lot of antibiotics, they're reducing the healthy bacteria in their guts. So you want to keep that. That's a good probiotic.
That's a really good point, because a lot of people start to get a cold, flu, or something like that. They don't feel well. They go into their doctor and say, give me some antibiotics. And over the decades, there's been a proliferation of antibiotics being prescribed for viruses. And they're actually harmful, so you have to be very, very careful. Sure, if something turns into bacterial pneumonia, you want IV antibiotics, but you have to be careful because antibiotics kill off our good bacteria in the gut. They can promote fungus, yeast, and things like that, yeast infections. So very careful with that.
Even just grabbing a yogurt while if you're on a 5-day routine, that can help at least balance it out. Again, try not to overwhelm. I think that's the worst thing we can do, is to overwhelm ourselves with all we have so much information.
Okay,
so keep it simple.
tell me about sugar.
It's really good, isn't it? But boy, it is really bad for you. So it's going to just suppress all the good things that can happen to your system.
Yes, it's immunosuppressive, and statistics show that in the year 1900, the average American consumed maybe 5 pounds of sugar in a given year. 5 pounds. What would you think it was by the year 2000?
Oh gosh, that's a hard.
At
At least double.
Statistics show it was almost 100 pounds of sugar a day, because it's
Wow.
found in everything. Cereals,
Ketchup.
they put it in drinks, ketchup,
Condiments,
everything like
it's
that.
just
So be very
everywhere.
careful. Some sugar fine, particularly in healthy fruits, vegetables, things of that nature, but very immunosuppressive. So think of something else besides that donut and coffee in the morning.
Chicken soup.
Chicken
I love
soup.
soup for breakfast. I love soup at any time, but chicken soup is a great one. It's another
Very good,
recipe
that
that's-
hot broth, a decongestant, and it has something we're going to talk about under nutrients. It has what's called N-acetylcysteine, which is a sulfur-based protein and amino acid, which is a decongestant and a powerful antiviral. So there's a lot more to chicken soup than just chicken, and the liquid, okay?
And well, there's also the love in chicken soup that helps boost it also. So the process of making chicken soup is also therapeutic.
Yeah, it is.
And use garlic in whatever you're doing. Garlic, best antimicrobial going. You can even just take a clove. You want to chop it up and spread it out so it oxidizes, so you have more surface of the garlic, because that's going to activate all the good stuff in your garlic.
Yes,
So garlic.
They call it Russian penicillin, but it's been used since the days Hippocrates talked about it, and all the old practitioners over the years. And it's not only antibiotic, but antiviral, antifungus, parasite. I mean, it's a let's say a wonder food. Now, you used to grow garlic, right?
Yes,
You
quite
were
a
a
lot.
garlic grower.
Yeah, we still grow it. Yep.
Now, the last one, I mean, again, audience, we're just doing a few tips. We could go into 100, but we don't have time in our show. But how about coconut oil?
Right, coconut oil, so good. It's good tasting. It's good. Just as good for everything, and has lauric acid, which
Lauric acid,
goes after
monolaurin,
the viruses.
and caprylic acid. Powerful antiviral in coconut. Powerful antibiotic, powerful antifungus in coconut oil. And it also has special oils in it. There's very small molecules called medium chain triglycerides, which get right into your system, get up into your brain, good for memory and energy. A lot of athletes are using MCT oil, it's called. So how would you use coconut? Cook with it?
Yeah, and I'd like to take a tablespoon in my coffee.
Yeah, I have a
morning
lot of people,
with
particularly
some
a lot
cinnamon
of nurses
also.
doing
That
it.
yeah, it's delicious. Or just replacing all your oils and use coconut or olive
Exactly.
oil. And hydration. We need to make sure we talk about that.
Yes.
Hydration beyond water.
One thing, Marlisa, I do a lot is instead of just drinking water, I put lemon or lime.
Lemon and lime, yeah.
Lemon and lime, because you get all those vitamin C compounds, which are a boost to your immune system and have a nice cleansing effect on your body.
All fruits are good in there too. Also watermelon and
Of course,
then ginger.
Ginger. I lived in China for a year, exposed to lots of more ginger and it's one of the main antivirals in traditional Chinese medicine that's used. But in India, during the COVID period, they used it quite a bit. And so, because it inhibits the virus from latching onto cells. And of course, your favorite, hot cocoa, nice, elevates nitric oxide, good for your circulation, blood flow. We use cayenne a lot in a tincture form, little drops, or it could be Tabasco sauce. Opens up your bronchioles, stimulates blood flow, oxygen, and
turmeric.
of
You
course
can mix that in.
elderberry, which is one of the magic nutrients that Hippocrates talked about it. Benjamin Franklin talked about it. Elderberry tea, elderberry pie, because it is really remarkable anecdotally and scientifically too for inhibiting viral cells jumping from cell to cell. So great success with it. Okay, our last section we're going into
We're
are
going
what
to
we
talk
call
about nutraceuticals.
nutraceuticals. Nutraceuticals is a fancy word. You heard of pharmaceuticals, prescription drugs. So we use for nutrients the word nutraceuticals. So here are just a handful of them. Vitamin D, we've talked a lot about, powerful immune booster, and it does something else. It regulates your immune system, because what gets people in trouble is the cytokine storm, where the immune system overreacts and starts attacking your lung tissue. So powerful immune system. Okay, would you like to talk about vitamin C?
Vitamin C, everyone, I think that's something I grew up with as the first and foremost, if not only, vitamin I knew that was a good immune booster. It's so plentiful in so many different foods. I can't even say enough about it. Just I sometimes will even forget to take it because it's just always been in my diet, and then when it falls out, I forget it because it's just one of those things that you always do. So I will just eat a vitamin C rich food or fruit. I like to have clementines around a lot. Those are so simple and easy.
Yeah, and just a simple thing about the evolution of vitamin C. Most animal species make their own vitamin C, but we have an evolutionary defect, an enzyme defect, along with the primates and guinea pigs and bats, of all things. So we don't make our own vitamin C. We've got to get it from nature or supplementation. So let's take a goat, would produce maybe regularly 2 grams, 2,000 milligrams of vitamin C a day. Under stress, any type of illness, it might make 7 times that amount, just to protect themselves. So we have a defect in that respect. When my mom was sick at the ICU unit at Yale fighting for her life, I used 12,000 milligrams a day, 500 milligrams every 2 hours, so the results were remarkable. So you can go up on the doses when you have an illness and things of that nature.
And it's not toxic? Don't you just release it in urine when you take a lot of vitamin C that you don't need?
Some you do, some you don't, and there are different forms of vitamin C. But something, to think about. I want to talk about N-acetylcysteine. N-acetylcysteine is a sulfur-based amino acid, and it's remarkable. You think of mucomist in the hospital, nebulizer, but in a capsulized form, you can get it and combine it with vitamin C, and it decongests. It cleans out the mucus in your lungs, and it's a powerful antiviral. N-acetylcysteine, combined it with vitamin C and D.
Omega-3 fish oils.
Yes.
That's also become more common. People are just more prone to take it. They're aware of it. You can take it. It's so easy.
Marlisa, remember in the good old days, mothers would give their children
cod liver oil.
Cod liver oil.
I had it in Iceland that's what we gave our babies.
Yes, all the northern Nordic countries, cod liver oil because of the vitamin D. Keep the bones strong, keep the immune system strong, and it's got vitamin A in it too, which is a good immune nutrient for your lungs. 2 other nutrients, and we'll finish the show on this, is zinc. You've heard a lot about zinc. Zinc is magic for activating your immune system, natural killer cells, things that are called your white T cells, neutrophils, macrophages, all these fancy words of your immune system. And the last one is selenium. Selenium. It's one of the cheapest nutrients around, but it is another powerful antiviral and anti-cancer. So we've talked about lifestyle, we talked about diet, we've talked about hydration, we've given a few tips for nutraceuticals. What else can you say?
Just happy coming on of winter, and may you be well as we approach the darkness, and just take the mindful moments to just remember to take care of yourself, leave the guilt out of being tired, because it's hibernation season, so hibernate and enjoy it. Get a big sweater.
Yeah, be alarmed, because it looks like we may have a uncomfortable cold and respiratory and flu season. So be alert, be prepared, and think about some of the tips that we shared with you today.
Yeah, put something in your cupboard just to have. I always have the elderberry.
Yeah, have the elderberry, get your vitamin D levels up, vitamin C, be prepared, eat healthy foods, and get your rest.
That's so huge. We're going to...
And most of all, Marlisa, enjoy the New England weather.
All right, wherever you are. So thanks for watching. Many thanks to Frank and Frank at SEC TV. Couldn't do it without them.
And thank you, Marlisa, and thank you,
Patrick.
audience, and we'll see you next time.
Have a great day.
Thank you very much.